Welcome back to another episode of Snow Family Farms podcast. Snow Farms podcast. I don't even know what we call this anymore. This is episode
6.
36. It's more than 35. Today, I'm going to be saying a lot, which drives Andrea crazy.
Yes.
So thanks for playing along. We are at the tail end of a nice little cold snap. 84 hours of below freezing.
He forgot to mention it's January 15th.
It is
2024.
2024, new year, new me. No, same old us. But we had a lot going on this weekend. I had Friday off. So we're going to get right into what we did. And the first thing that we did on Thursday night when I got home was lay out an action plan. So we made a list, and where the list is now, no idea. It was a great list. As the Jack Black song once went, it was the greatest list of all time. We've lost it. We don't remember what it was. Trust us.
It's fine.
Greatest list of all time. So we're going to go through, hit the highlights of what we did. Just give you an idea if you're someplace, one, if you don't have animals, but you're going to have them in the future, what our plan of attack was. And two, if you're lucky enough not to have had a cold snap this year, thinking about what's coming. So what we do first, honey?
So the very first thing that Sam and I did was we went in our barn. We have 4 stalls. One stall is all closed in on one side, but it was full of corn feed sacks.
Andrea had been saving these sacks like there was some kind of coupon on the back that she was going to turn in for a Dakota ring. It blew. She filled up our 3 cubic yard dumpster with these sacks. It blew my mind.
But Sam had fun riding the sacks.
He did.
So they wouldn't blow away in the wind.
He was the weight. So, and the wind was really the thing that made this miserable. 8 degrees, 10 degrees. It's cold, but when there's a steady 20-mile-an-hour wind, it's miserable being outside. So I got the fun task. I got to fill up our wood. We have a really nice wood bin on the front porch that I filled for Andrea before cold weeks. So I filled that all the way up, and then I filled up our cart on top of it, and we made it through just about the entire cold snap just out of the cart. So it always makes me feel good because Andrea has plenty of wood to make it till I get back.
And then my next step was to combine rabbits into cages and then move those cages into the barn so they would be out of the wind and any moisture that might have occurred.
So, anytime you get temps this low in the south, and it's just like anywhere, if you had temps drop 60 degrees, because it was almost 70 on Thursday.
Yes.
And then it was in the upper 40s on Friday, and then it just fell off a cliff. So in our low, I think here was 5 or 6 degrees. Today, I think the high was 12.
Mm-hmm.
So with that wind, so anytime your animals have that big of a temperature gap, you're going to lose some, and we did. So you had a rabbit kit, or Kindle rather.
Yeah.
And then so you lost all the babies. And then we lost the naked chicken. We had one chicken that decided to molt out of cycle, so she had no feathers. She didn't make it. We moved all the chicks inside. We had about 30 chicks, give or take. Tragedy twice averted this last week. So one, I had a carbon monoxide monitor for our place down in Milford because we had a propane stove. And for whatever reason, it was in the kitchen stuff because I kept in the kitchen there. I plugged it in here. And what night was that? That was before I left back to work, right?
Yeah.
So it was Monday night, Sunday night, something like that. One of the 2 nights before I went back to work. It starts going off in the middle of the night. Andrea, completely oblivious to it. Never heard it. So I go out, and the entire living room is just full of smoke. And because I'd left the dampers full open, and we'd had wind, and I just fill up with smoke. So I cracked everything, got air going back, that got it shut off. The house smelled like
Smoke.
pine smoke, which wasn't still not great. It got worse the next story. So, for whatever reason, having that plugged in was a big deal. So it went off about 3 o'clock in the morning. Uh, I had the chimney sweep come out here. Was it 2 days later? Had to be
Wednesday.
had to be Sunday. Anyways, Wednesday, and he gets up on the roof. And he's like, "Oh, well, here's your problem." So one, we had a big creosote buildup. Part of that's from burning the pine, but the main reason was the folks who had been here before, and I had the house inspected, and he didn't say anything about this. There's a big mesh thing around our vent
Smoke outlet.
up on
I
top of the
guess.
roof.
Yeah.
It was covered with metal. So, and the chimney sweep was a nice kid. Andrew talked to him, I get to, but he said that folks put those up, they shroud it to keep the wasp from getting down. And we have dirt daubers here. It's not like anything's going to fly in the house and sting you, but so we had the chimney could not get enough smoke out, and it makes so much sense now in hindsight. So he spent 2 hours out here, best money we spent, cleaned up everything, got everything going. So that was great. And then we moved we had the chicks outside the back porch, and they're about halfway feathered. We get in a hurry. We had so much going on, and I remember thinking, that's not the best place to secure that light. Well, on was that Friday morning, Saturday morning,
Saturday.
Saturday about 3 a.m. I get up to go put wood in the fireplace, and there's smoke. And I'm like, man, I just had that guy here, and I'm like, I go look at the fire. Everything's going great. It's got great flow through there. And I look on the back porch, and it's just black smoke out there. So I go wake up Andrea because I want her to see me if I die. I want her to be completely traumatized by that. I don't want to die alone, silently, peacefully. I want someone that really need therapy for decades. So anyways, I run out there to hold my breath like every good firefighter would. I open up the two, because it's just thick black smoke. I open up the two big sliding doors we had back there in the mud room. And with a 30-mile-an-hour wind, it got the smoke out of there quick. See what's up. The heat lamp that we had for the chickens it fallen straight down. Had it fallen on its side, probably would have been fine, but it fell straight down on the bulb. Bulb didn't break. Kept heated all the way through the polyethylene thick Rubbermaid trough that was $150, and then through the carpet below to the concrete. So it didn't kill a single chick that night. Andrew is pretty sure they're all going to be mentally handicapped
From the burnt plastic.
So it reeks back there. We're going to get some good weather here in a couple weeks. We'll be able to open up the house and hopefully get some smell out. But the adventure is on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
So the big thing there is, if you're going to bring any of this stuff in, I should have thrown it out because I've got extra smoke detectors. Should have thrown one out there. The beeping probably would have woke me up, whatever. But so 2 narrowly missed disasters there. Very, very thankful for that. So, and we're going to get those chicks out probably Wednesday, Thursday. Get them back on the back porch. Somewhere in there. Andrew's like, they're going to stay there for a while till you get back. Fair enough. So from there, well, prior to this, with the heat, we have one spigot that comes out the ground. We have one that comes out the shop. We don't have a ton of water points here, which is something eventually we're going to have to remedy, but we're just going to run PEX. We're going to have to worry about freezing. But I went and jerry-rigged. We have some foam insulation, so I went and just cut that, jerry-rigged it over, wrapped some towels around it. So far, so good. It's holding. What'd you do?
Then later in the week, or earlier in the week rather, Sam and I ran to the feed store and bought 3 bales of straw to use as a heat capture, I guess, for the
It
pigs.
makes her feel good about putting the straw down. She's like, oh, it's insulation. These animals have winter coats.
The pig doesn't have winter coat.
He does.
Anyways,
He does. He's got 3 inches of lard.
I put some straw in with the pigs and then in the chick tractor that we already had in the greenhouse.
So, and that's a, what's the name of that guy?
Siskovich.
Yeah, Siskovich tractors. Worth the money to buy the PDFs. I'm probably going to build more. Just because they're about the right size. You can get them around. You can have... On the meat birch, you can sneak in 35 in one. With the chickens that we have, if you're free ranging, you can put 50 in there, and because they're just in there during the night, keeps predators out. We haven't had any so far. Knock on wood, we haven't had anything get in there. We moved everything into the greenhouse that we have, and I want to talk to folks about. So we got approved for another EQIP grant for a hoop house. So what we have out here that I bought from a buddy is an actual greenhouse. So it's got dormers on top. It's pretty fancy. It's much taller and more purpose-built than a hoop house. You have some restrictions about what you can do in the hoop house when you go through EQIP for the first 3 years. But in an emergency situation like this, the great thing about having a greenhouse is there's no wind. And there's no rain for the most part. There's some leaks out there, but for the most part, it gives a ton of shelter. So it's not going to increase your air temp at night, but just getting them out of the wind, big win. So it's one of those things where it's a multi-purpose structure, and for the money, for the amount of space you get, it's awesome in what you can do with it. So just something there on that side to think about. So we moved everything in the greenhouse. We moved the goats into the greenhouse.
Yes.
The chickens, the ducks.
The geese.
Anybody want a goose? Let us know. We've got 2 ganders. Yours. So we built goat pens in there. So we used the existing. We had a cattle panel up there that we had our cucumbers growing on during the spring, summer, fall. So we used that as one wall that brought in 3 more cattle panels. Worked great. Ducks, geese. Let's see what next. Goats. And the goats were the last thing we moved in. And then the next thing we had to get ready for, because this wasn't in the cards, was we had a really fun seed starting workshop on Saturday. So we'd had 6 people sign up. We had 3 people show up, and it was awesome. I really enjoyed it. I hope that, I don't know that anyone that the 3 of them watched this podcast, but it was really, really fun for me. So it was our first workshop that we've done here at the house. We did the TCCC here, but that really wasn't me running it. That was somebody else running it, and I just got folks to come.
We just hosted it.
So this was 3 hours, and it was 3 solid hours of give and take. Lots of information. Everybody had done some different things, so it was fun that way. We sent everybody home with a bunch of started seeds in little containers. Sent some folks home with some lard that we'd rendered, and I think that we'll have those folks plus more back. I think it was good enough. We fed everybody. We had coffee and danishes, or muffins rather, and bad cherry fritters. Oh. Lessons were learned about buying donuts at Homeland grocery store. We'll do something different next time. They were there. No one went hungry, but we learned a lot. I was really, really happy with how everything went. There were ideas for additional workshops in the future. I think we're going to do beef tallow rendering and lard rendering in a workshop. I think there's enough demand for that. Folks really want to know how to do it. I think your lotion and soap making, I think that you can fill up a class with that really, really easily.
We already have that.
It's on the list?
Yeah.
We're geniuses. So next month in February, if you're interested, for the 18 million or 3 people that watch this, whichever one it ends up being, we have a February fruit tree pruning class we're going to do. Again, it's going to be about 3 hours. We have about 50 trees between myself and a neighbor that we're going to go. Everyone's going to get a shot. We're going to talk about. We're going to talk about it, and then we're going to do it, and then we're going to after action everything. We're going to talk about fertilizer schedule, spray schedule, what we do when we thin, when to pick the fruit. We'll talk about canning, leather, all these different things. We'll probably have some classes that come out of this on the back end later on. But excited about that. February weather, it could be 60, it could be 6. Rain or shine, we will do the class. So if you're signed up for it, we will be here, we'll do it. And then just, it's all about gear, right? So we cleaned the house before that course. We picked up all of Sam's toys, took out the meat, and we didn't have as much prep time for the course. And that's going to be the one thing for the next one, because I'd expect to have a lot more time on Friday to sit down and write everything out. So that's all going to get done beforehand for the pruning class. So I'll have everything laid out, and we'll probably teach that to Andrea or vice versa, because there's going to be some classes that you do, and I'm just going to be there getting dinner ready, and then. But I don't think you've ever really done much of the pruning with me, have you?
No.
She's like, it's cold in February. I stay inside. Which is not true, because she's out doing the animals. And I'm like, I told you not to get all these animals. That's why I have the cows. I give them a bale of hay a week, and they're on their own. If they die, they die. But, so we talked about in the class just some things that, timers. So automating everything that you can. Pay no attention to the dogs in the background. Automating everything you can. The timers, and they are cheap. They're $18 for 2 of them. They last for years. The LED grow lights. Once again, shout out to the marijuana industry. As extractive and gross as it is on the growing stuff at home, they've done a great job. A pot maker from newspaper. They're available on Amazon. I had one years ago. I still have it. For something that you can actually put in the ground and will biodegrade, they're money. If you have a newspaper subscription, it's something to think about. We showed everybody our Dutch bucket system, and if you have a good amount of space with southern exposure, and you can get something for tomatoes at least, and you can get something up 7-8 feet above it, whether it's setting poles in the ground or growing it to a pergola or whatever. Johnny Seeds it looks like a bad fishing spool, and it's just a polyethylene string. It is fantastic for tomatoes in stringing those up, supporting them, allowing you to prune everything, see everything, and they're really inexpensive. But the Dutch bucket system, I think we could probably do. If I throw something at it, then there'll be proof. I think we could probably do an entire Dutch bucket class and how to set up, because that was something that everybody had thoughts about. But for a really small space, children and animals, never work with them. For really small space or unlimited space, there's a ton of production that you can get out with the Dutch bucket. You don't need soil. That's something you could finagle that on a balcony. It would just be, would your landlord let you? Mm-hmm. But aside from that, it 5-gallon bucket, you can grow an unlimited number of cherry tomatoes. And the Master Gardener fertilizer set that comes from Amazon, we had 10 plants. I think we had 10 tomatoes and 2 peppers. And for a year and a half, and we're still only about 2/3 of the way through the first $50 worth of fertilizer. So as far as total cost to get in, it really is inexpensive versus buying. If you're trying to build your own raised beds and you bring in soil, I think the Dutch buckets probably will end up being cheaper. Let's see. We talked about 500 feet of polyethylene half-inch hose is $44. I checked the price today on Amazon from, it's either Orbit or Rainbird, one of the two sprinkler companies. And we have done all kinds of things with that hose. Mm-hmm. I have some that I beat that dog with. It's a joke. We've run, in our 10 acres, which was a long, skinny, narrow rectangle, I ran that down the middle, and had all of our water points coming off of that, and just on top of the grass. The stuff is very UV stable. It lasts for years, and it's easy to plug. It's easy to fix. If you run over with Lawnmower like I do at least a couple times a year, you just cut off two ends. You can patch it, put it back together. Super easy to work with. And then there's the more polyethylene 1/4-inch hose that you have a little barb that sticks into the 1/2 inch. And then that 1/4 inch runs out, and that's how you get the drip irrigation or spray irrigation, whatever you want to do, onto your tree, plant, whatever. So, and then we had the grow mats. So those grow mats, they are 2 for $38, or about $20 a piece, give or take. And it just really, in a room where you may not have 70 to 80 degree temps, it just helps your seeds germinate. So, and depending on how many you're going to have with the lights on top, it's just a really nice thing to have. And then you can use those for other things. You can put put them under chicks. What was the other? I feel like we used it for one other thing, and I can't remember what it is. Besides,
Well, you can infuse oils
oh yeah. So, but that's what we
with
talked about,
herbs.
and then we talked a lot about composting. So I think we'll end up doing a composting workshop on different things you can do, and just I think folks overthink composting, and I know that there's a gal that she's out of Austin. I think she's at UT. She's a PhD, and that's what she did her doctorate in, was composting, all the science behind it. You're just putting organic material besides citrus, bones, and meat into a pile. And you add green matter, which can be grass, can be anything that's been alive. Your brown matter is dead leaves, grass that's dead and dried out, whatever. And then foodstuffs, coffee grounds, anything else. Food scraps, and you just keep adding it. And then when you get your space full, you move to the next space. If you want it to break down faster, you turn it, you water it. There's a few things, but that's it. If you fill up a space and leave it for a year, it will compost on its own. So, but anything else that I dominated the talking because we didn't have who was doing what.
Oh, after the class, he looked at me and said, "Well, you should have had your soaps and lotions out." And I said, "Well, that's all good and fine, but I didn't have any lotion made, nor are my soaps ready to sell."
Yeah, so, and that's one of the things that for us, right, when we're doing these, moving forward, we want to have her soaps out, her lotions, her lip balm, the honey, when we get to the place where we can sell honey, and beef. So, because selling beef boxes commercially is really tough to make a profit, just for the time involved and trying to track people down and taking it to them, and they're coming to you and setting this up. But I think when folks are in the home and you're like, hey, you want 20 pounds of meat? Yeah. Venmo, here it is, right? And you're done. So I think that's one of the things that will, and even just sampler packs of, here's a roast, here's a pound of hamburger, here's 2 steaks, and we'll come up with a price. And just get folks, again, like every good Dre addict, give them that first taste and see if we can get them hooked. But I think there's a ton of demand, and I think we've been, between the two of us now, because since you've taken over this last year, we do a whole bunch of different things. And there are lots of folks who do 1 or 2 things. We're doing everything, for better or worse. And we've done a bunch of other things in the past as well. So, I think I need to have like a chainsaw, how to fall a tree, how to buck wood.
Well, we need
how
to just teach our first year's worth of classes first.
Yeah.
And
So-
then add on.
So all these things, but I enjoyed it very much. So, Andrew, you got anything else?
No.
Jackie, you have anything? I kicked the dog. If anyone sees a big white Anatolian Pyrenees and a blonde Anatolian Pyrenees cross, we're still missing our 2 big dogs. So if you see them, let us know. But until next time,
Every day.
it's an opportunity to learn something new. Thanks for watching.